You are a woman in 40,000 BC. The moon is full. The fire is low. You feel that familiar cramp deep in your belly. You know what is coming. You also know that in about 6 hours, every predator within miles is going to smell blood. Lions, hyenas, cave bears. They will track that smell straight to you. You have no pad, no cup, no ibuprofen. You have moss. You have fur. You have a choice. Stay in the cave and risk bringing death to everyone you know, or walk into the dark alone. This is what ancient women faced every single month. So how did they survive it? Here is the thing nobody tells you about periods in the Stone Age. The modern period is the anomaly. Ancient women did not bleed every month like we do. They had far fewer periods, about 50 to 100 in a lifetime. Compare that to today, 400 periods. But here is where it gets interesting. When they did bleed, it was not just uncomfortable, it was dangerous. Blood in the wild is a dinner bell, and a bleeding woman could get an entire camp killed. So ancient women developed strategies that were strange, smart, and surprisingly effective. They turned their blood into a tool. They used it for camouflage, for territory, for survival. And they did it all with materials that would shock you. This is the story of how half the human species managed a monthly crisis for 2 million years. Let us start with the most surprising fact. Ancient women did not have periods the way we think of them. The average woman today gets her first period around age 12. She keeps bleeding until about age 50. That is roughly 400 periods in a lifetime. Now imagine a woman in the Paleolithic. She gets her first period later, usually around 15 or 16. Then she gets pregnant, and she stays pregnant or nursing for most of her reproductive years. Each pregnancy lasts 9 months. Each child breastfeeds for 2 to 4 years, and breastfeeding suppresses menstruation. It is the body's way of conserving energy. The result is staggering. A Paleolithic woman might have only 50 periods in her entire life. Some researchers think it was even fewer. The evolutionary biologist Beverly Strassman documented this in Modern Hunter-Gatherers. The Dogon people of Mali, they still live as foragers. Their women have about 100 periods in a lifetime, less than a third of what we have. So the first thing ancient women did with their periods was simple. They had fewer of them. But when they did bleed, the real problems began. Here is the part that should bother you. Blood is one of the strongest smells in the natural world. Predators can detect it from miles away. Lions have a sense of smell, about as good as a bloodhound. Hyenas can track blood over open ground for kilometers. And a woman bleeding in the open was broadcasting her location to every carnivore in the valley. So ancient women had a serious problem. They could not just sit in the cave and bleed. That would attract predators to the entire group. But they could not leave the group either. That meant facing the dark alone. The solution was isolation and camouflage. Many groups built menstrual huts. These were small shelters set apart from the main camp. A woman would go there during her period. She would take supplies, moss, fur, water, and she would stay there until the bleeding stopped. This kept the predators away from the group. The bleeding woman became bait, but she saved everyone else. Now here is the strange part. Some groups used menstrual blood for protection. They would smear blood on their bodies and faces. Not just any blood, menstrual blood. The idea was camouflage. A predator sees movement. It smells blood. It assumes the smell is from a fresh kill, but then it looks closer and sees a living, moving human. The confusion buys time. In some cases, the blood actually repelled predators. Certain animals avoid human blood. It is a chemical warning. Researchers think this is one reason our ancestors lost the visible sexual swelling that chimps and gorillas have. Chimps advertise their fertility. We hide ours, and that may have been a predator avoidance strategy. A hidden period is a safe period. But let us talk about the absorbents. What did they actually use? Moss was common, soft. Absorbent dried grass worked too. Animal fur, especially rabbit or squirrel fur. Soft bark strips. Some groups wove plant fibers into pads. In the Arctic, Inuit women use soft moss wrapped in leather. In Africa, the Hadza used bark cloth. The Kung used soft grass and fur. Archaeologists rarely find these. They decompose. But at some Ice Age sites, they find something else: ochre. Red ochre is iron-rich clay. It was used for body paint, for cave art, and possibly for menstrual blood management. Women would mix ochre with blood or fat. They would use it to paint their bodies. This helped dry the blood. It also masked the smell. The ochre had antimicrobial properties. It may have helped prevent infection. And that was the hidden killer: infection. No sterile pads, no soap, no antibiotics. A piece of moss with bacteria could cause sepsis. A small cut from bark could turn deadly. A dried blood clot left on the skin could lead to infection. Women likely died from what we would call a minor infection today. It is impossible to know how many, but before antibiotics, infection was one of the leading causes of death. For everyone, not just women. The survivors were meticulous. They would wash with water whenever possible. They would change absorbents frequently. They used plant-based antimicrobials, things like yarrow or sage or pine resin. These plants have natural antibiotic properties. Researchers have found evidence of medicinal plant use in Neanderthal dental plaque. The knowledge was ancient, but it was not perfect. Many women died. And that is the truth we do not like to face. Periods were deadly, not uncomfortable deadly. The modern period is a miracle. Pads, tampons, cups, painkillers, antibiotics. But here's the thing: ancient women did not just survive. They thrived. They turned their period into something useful. Let us talk about blood as a tool. Menstrual blood was used for marking territory. A woman would walk the perimeter of the camp. She would leave blood on rocks and trees. This told other humans the area was occupied. It also told animals something. Human blood meant humans, and humans meant fire, tools, and danger. The blood created a chemical boundary. It worked like a keep-out sign. In some Australian Aboriginal groups, menstrual blood was used in ritual. It was considered powerful. Sacred. Women would paint themselves and their tools. The blood was a mark of womanhood. But it was also a practical tool. It repelled mosquitoes. Some insects are repelled by human blood. It was a natural insect repellent. It also softened leather. Blood was used in tanning. The enzymes helped break down animal hides. So a woman's period was not just waste. It was a resource. Now here is the part where we look back at ourselves. We see periods as a curse, a hassle, an inconvenience. But for 2 million years, they were a survival challenge. Half the species faced it every month, and they solved it with moss, with fur, with ochre, with community. They built huts. They painted themselves. They shared knowledge. They kept each other alive. The modern period is safe, isolated, medicalized. We have lost the urgency, but we have also lost something else. The understanding that this is not just biology, it is survival. And our ancestors figured it out without any of the things we take for granted. Think about that for a second. For 2 million years, women bled in the wild, with predators circling, with no pain relief, with infections lurking in every piece of moss. And they did it quietly, invisibly. Historically, periods are almost absent from the record. No cave paintings of menstrual huts. No written records from the Paleolithic. But the silence does not mean it was not happening. It means we are not looking. The invisible half of human history is written in blood. And when you finally see it, it changes everything. The modern period is the anomaly. We have replaced danger with convenience, predators with pharmacies, moss with cotton, isolation with privacy. But we have not replaced the resilience. That resilience is still in us. Every woman who bleeds today carries that history, and every person alive owes something to the women who survived. They did not just bleed. They kept the species alive, and they did it with nothing but moss, fur, and each other. That is not just history. That is a debt we have never fully acknowledged. So the next time you open a pad or take a painkiller, remember, you are living in a world your ancestors could not have imagined. And they would be amazed, and maybe a little relieved. There's a whole world of these hidden human stories. The things we do every day. The things we never think about. And they all have a strange, surprising past. Stick around if you are curious about what it really means to be human, because the past is never as boring as you think.